So Jake Paul has been sparring cruiserweight champion Lawrence Okolie, and Okolie has come out and said that Jake Paul is better than most boxers, and people just hate because of his influencer background. And somebody did a poll here asking the audience, do you agree with Lawrence Okolie or not? And of course, the vast majority of people, 60% or over 60%, said no, they don't agree with Lawrence Okolie. They think it's ridiculous to suggest that Jake Paul is better than most boxers. Well, I'm not so sure that I do disagree. Why? Well, let's look at the reality of it. Jake Paul is a cruiserweight. Lawrence Okolie is a cruiserweight. So let's just assume that Lawrence Okolie is referring to the cruiserweight division. And you could really apply this to most divisions other than heavyweight. There are 1,152 active male cruiserweight boxers in the world. So the majority of, or most professionals, that's just the top 500. So are you telling me that Jake Paul isn't good enough to be in the top 500 at cruiserweight? I think he is. In which case, what Lawrence Okolie said would be accurate, that he is better than most boxers in the cruiserweight division. He could be in the top 500 for sure. Most of these fighters, the 1,152, is comprised of journeymen, club fighters, no-hopers, chancers. In terms of people that are actually going to go anywhere and have ever been anything, a push, it might be the top 100, an absolute push. After the top 100, you're dealing with absolute pies and puddings. For the most part, people who Jake Paul should be able to beat. So I'm going to say Jake Paul is definitely good enough to be a top 500 cruiserweight, and therefore what Lawrence Okolie said is accurate. And another thing he said that's accurate is that people hate on him because of his influencer background. Now, I'm not some big Jake Paul fan here, but I understand what human beings are like. I understand the nature of human beings. And envy is a massive thing in human psychology. A lot of people are envious, jealous, bitter, and all this kind of thing. When they see a young guy like Jake Paul, who's got loads of money and he's braggadocious and all this kind of thing, they wish they were in his position. Now, some people genuinely don't like the way he comes across, and it's not really about his success and so on and so forth. Yeah, there are people like that, but I'm going to say those people are actually in the minority. And the majority of people who don't like Jake Paul don't like him because he makes them feel insecure. They don't like the fact that somebody who doesn't have a background in boxing has taken it upon himself to actually dedicate himself to the sport, and he's actually displaying some talent. They don't want to believe that that can be done because it makes them feel bad about the fact that they haven't done it. I always go back to a great scene in the movie Scarface, where Scarface is, Tony Montana is sat with Manny, his right-hand man, his wife, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, at a table in a restaurant, and he's drunk. And he's basically, as they're leaving the restaurant, shouting at all the patrons in the restaurant saying, "You wish you could be like me. You just don't have the heart to be like me." That's the truth. And that is the case for a lot of people. And I'm going to apply that here to a Jake Paul. Not that they want to have tattoos on their head and all this kind of thing, but a lot of people wish they could pursue their dream, that they had the heart, that they had the courage, that they had the confidence and the determination to actually make something of themselves, be it in the boxing world or any other endeavor in life. But they don't. So they hate on people who do. That's what it is for, I want to say, the majority of people that really don't like Jake Paul. Because how many of you really follow the things that he says anyway? I don't even know what Jake Paul says. I only ever see this guy really when he's interacting in the boxing world. When he's got a fight coming up, I don't watch him and follow him on social media and all that kind of thing. Listen to what he says, really don't care. But in the boxing world, I think that he has proven already that he has some talent, some ability there. And I have to commend him for dedicating himself, because if you look at his brother, who's had the same opportunities he's had, right? They've made loads of money together. His brother can't fight at all. I saw that KSI match and the other matches. Yeah, his brother Logan can't fight at all. Jake can fight. I'm not saying that he's a world beater or ever will be, but he can fight. If you saw a guy like that down at your local amateur gym, like Jake Paul, you would say, okay, this guy's got some potential here. Just imagine he was, let's say, a 10-0, 11-0, 15-0 amateur. You would say, okay, this guy's got some potential. You wouldn't be looking at him thinking, he's rubbish. No, you'd say this guy's actually all right. But again, because of the influencer status, people don't want to acknowledge that. And of course, they're upset about the fact that he's fighting all these old MMA guys. Yeah, but when you don't have an amateur background, you're going to have an unusual learning process as a professional. You're not going to be able to progress in the way a professional who had an extensive amateur background would. You have to do your learning on the job. So I think that they're doing a good job with him, giving him the Anderson Silvers and all these kind of guys. I think it's bringing him along the right way. Obviously, it's not the norm for somebody who's already a celebrity to turn themselves into a professional boxer and have a serious career. In fact, this might be the first time it's ever been done. I find it intriguing, to be honest with you. I want to see how far he can go. Maybe he can't get close to world title level or anything like that. But I just like to see new things. I like to see new things. And what he's doing is something new. And it's bringing eyes to boxing. So I think it helps the sport. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Lawrence Okolie saying that Jake Paul is better than most boxers. How can you really argue against? I'm sure some of you will try. But given the fact that there are 1,152 boxers in the cruiserweight division, you really going to tell me that Jake Paul don't crack the top 500? And even if you expand that out to the rest of the divisions in boxing, well, Jake Paul is bigger and stronger than most of the welterweights or, lightweights out there, right? And when I say most, I'm talking about the top 500 in those divisions. And of course, as you go lower, let's say when you get down to middleweight, there's a lot more than 1,152 fighters. Some of the divisions are going to have 2,000 fighters or more. So again, is he going to be able to crack the top 1,000? I'm going to just off the top of my head guess and say, yeah, he probably would because of his size and youth and the ability. Yeah, so I think that he's good enough to be in the top 500 of any division in boxing other than maybe heavyweight because the guys are so big. You can get in there with a journeyman and, he might be a 260-pound man, 6'4", 6'5". Not so easy then. But in all the other divisions, yeah, I would say that what Lawrence Okolie says, in my opinion,